Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So happy to have some time with you on this beautiful Thursday. Well, I don't know where you are, but where I am, it's a beautiful day. And hopefully you are having a beautiful day where you are as well. But I'm so excited to be with you today. Thursday is a very special day here at the YWTV. As you know, our show is all about engaging, inspiring, and making people think. And today, on Thursdays, we devote our time to our Share the Mic Now campaign, which is part of a national effort to amplify the voices of Black women. And today, I'm just so thrilled to bring you a wonderful young woman who's going to share a little bit about her life experience and the amazing work that she's doing in our community. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Ryan Farley. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, hello everyone. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my organization.
Yes,
so,
let me tell you a little bit about Ryan real quick first.
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay, not at all. I just want them to know who you are, and then you can tell them. You can talk about your organization better than I can. But those of you who, just so you know a little bit about Ryan, she's a 16-year-old high school student from New York. She has been surrounded by diversity her entire life, and she felt the need to start a podcast about teaching youth, especially Black youth, about the importance of investing and building wealth, since the vast majority of schools do not teach these skills necessary to invest or to become an entrepreneur. So she took it upon herself to, create this program and this podcast. So with that, tell us a little bit about your fundamentals of investing.
Okay, so this is a brand new podcast, and I'm actually not the only host on it. I actually host it with two other boys, and I worked with the creators to, start something where we can teach young kids, like you said, schools, they don't teach about, economics and credit and things like that. So we're just trying to educate the youth, especially the Black youth, about how to invest. But I think it's really beneficial for anyone to watch if you just want to, gain knowledge on the subject. But what we're really just trying to do is give people a place where they can have resources and get knowledge about subjects like this, because unfortunately in our country we don't have a lot of these things, and that's why a lot of people aren't educated. So that's really what we're trying to do.
That's so great. It's amazing, and it's wonderful for youth to hear it from their peers, for sure. So tell me, Ryan, give us some examples of some of the conversations that you guys are having on your podcast.
Okay, so none of the episodes are out yet, but they will be out in September, but we have filmed some. So far we've had an episode where we talked heavily about credit and how to build and have a good credit score. And we've also had a wonderful man. He was a Howard alumni, and he was talking about some of the pros about going to an HBCU and showing children that there's a lot of places where you can go where you belong.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's wonderful topics. And so tell us about the launch of it. So you've been filming your episodes now. When's the big day, and how can people access it if they're interested?
I don't know the exact number date, but I am 100% sure it will be sometime in early to mid-September.
Got it. Okay.
Be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout for sure. And we will keep you posted when it does come out. And I actually was talking to Ryan about getting her involved with our girls' Leadership Academy, Empower University, and we were so excited about that. We will put the link to fundamentals of investing here in our comments, and that way you can keep track of when they do go live on your own as well. So Ryan, let me ask you a question. You're a young person. Before we get into the conversation around just about kind of some of the issues around racism and racial justice, tell me how you go from, being your average teen, whatever that means, by the way, and, deciding to launch this effort and be part of this effort with these other, peers of yours. I mean, this is a big undertaking. A lot of kids your age are, gaming or, shopping or watching YouTube videos and, doing their schoolwork, hanging out with their friends, maybe doing part-time jobs, but this is extra.
Yeah. So when the creators of the show reached out to me and asked me to audition, when I heard the idea for it, I was more than happy to audition. I really wanted to be a part of it. So, and like you said, kids, we're shopping, we're watching YouTube. I'm also doing all of those things. This is just another thing that I like to do. I've always been someone who wants to help other people and educate other people, because unfortunately there are a lot of people in this world who don't have the skills or the knowledge that they need to, become successful. So I was more than happy to be a part of something like that. And I hope that the podcast reaches like a broad audience of all different kinds of people, all different ages, because everyone can always learn. And that's really why I wanted to do it.
Well, it definitely can reach all ages. I mean, conversations about credit. I know many adults who, need to learn more about, those pieces. So it's wonderful. And it's just, I really love the fact that, young people are teaching young people, because, it's more meaningful when you hear it from one of your peers, for sure. So, obviously, Share the Mic Now is about amplifying the voices of Black women. And you're our first young Black woman. No offense to our Black women, but you're in an age group that we've not, talked to yet. So I'm really excited to hear a little bit about your life experiences, because, put them side by side with some of the other women we've spoken to see how they, how they compare. So tell me a little bit about, what your life experience around, racism and systemic racism in your world where you live and you're growing up now.
All right. So I live in New York, and I am really lucky that New York is such a diverse and accepting and wonderful place. And I'm really lucky to not have experienced very, sorry. I don't know what that was. Sorry. I'm really lucky to have not experienced like outward, like name calling racism. But for me, I am an actress. So, and I have been an actress for a long time. So growing up, being an actress, I noticed that I wasn't given the same experiences and the same opportunities as a lot of white actors, even if they had, little or no experience. And me and my Black peers, we understood that from a very young age. And the lack of representation for Black people in the media is part of what made me want to act in the first place, because I didn't have like a lot of role models on the screen growing up. So I wanted to be that. For me, the first representation on screen I ever had was Princess Tiana from Princess and the Frog. And that movie, when that came out, that was everything to me. It was someone who looked like me, and she was a princess, and she was glamorous, and she was hardworking. So I saw that, and I realized how important she was to me. And I realized that I wanted to be that for other people. I wanted to be someone that people can identify with and relate to. So that's what made me want to get into acting.
That's amazing. And it's so important for you to share that story, because it really does drive home the importance of being able to see, see yourself, in different experiences, to be able to imagine your future. And that's actually what our Girls Leadership Academy is about, is by bringing so many different women to meet a group of young girls so that it can expand their base. So let me ask you, I mean, we are in a historic time right now. The Democratic vice presidential nominee, Kamala Harris, is the first, Black woman that is that has that opportunity. What is that like for you to watch and see, happening in front of you?
It's unreal. Like when I was really young when Obama was elected, so I don't really remember exactly how I felt. I'm sure I was excited, but I can't really remember. So being old enough to see a woman who comes from a similar background to me being about to have such a important part in running the country, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's really it's really important to me. And I think it's really important for a lot of young girls and young Black girls, especially, to see someone like that. And it makes me really happy to see that we're making some progress finally.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, although the YWCA of Northern New Jersey is a nonpartisan organization because of our 501c3 status, we obviously recognize the historic moment that we're in, and are embracing it, for women everywhere and Black women everywhere, especially at this time, which is so important. So here's another question for you. I know we hear a lot about a lot of people my age, and I'm 50. So a lot of people my age are always saying, oh, the youth adults are going to save us, and we're putting so much pressure on, our youth, which I have to say, I see a difference in the way you and your age group, how your action, your social action, your interest, your political interest, than, my age group was when we were your age. But I feel like it's a lot of pressure we put on all of you to save us. To that we're all kind of, it's almost like an excuse that adults are sitting back sometimes, and white adults, sitting back and saying, well, the youth is going to change everything. How do you feel? That's how I feel about it. That's my own personal feeling about it. Although I have tremendous excitement about what's to come with all of you and watching you, and I am very impressed. But how do you feel about it? What do you feel about your age group and, your feelings about everything going on and the future?
I am so proud to be a part of a generation where we realize that a change needs to be made, and we're activists, and we're going to grow up and we're going to be the next politicians and the lawyers and the doctors, But I think that everyone has a role that they can play towards, eliminating racism. Like, even if you're an adult, you need to examine the biases that maybe you didn't realize that you have and see, your privilege. And once you tear those things down and you look at yourself, that's when we can all come together towards, a more accepting and diverse society.
So are you finding when you sit with your, peers that are, a diverse group of your peers, that these conversations about race and privilege, a lot of conversations we're trying to have now, at this age with people that, it's really undoing a lot of what they've learned, how are you finding that those discussions are taken with, a diverse group around you? Do you feel like people are more embracing of it, or are you seeing some of the, historic behaviors, that are entrenched in our, the systemic racism that's entrenched in our communities, that we're, working to undo as an organization and as a society?
I feel like for the most part, people are very open-minded, but sometimes, people's parents have certain beliefs that are kind of, when you have parents that believe a certain thing, their beliefs are in you, and you have to work towards getting rid of them. So sometimes people unintentionally say things that maybe are ignorant, or that they don't understand someone else's experience. But I think that I find that when you sit down with people who come from different backgrounds and who have different experiences, everyone can say what's happened to them, and everyone is more accepting, if that makes sense.
That makes absolute sense. Absolute sense. So, thinking about our organization, the YWCA's mission is, part of our mission is to eliminate racism. And, what's your thought on how, as a society, I mean, it's a big question, mind you, but, obviously, and you've got quite a fan club watching, and I see why that you have quite. But, what's some of your thoughts that you have on, how as a society that we can do that, and how individuals can, be part of making that change?
Okay, I have some notes on this one too. But so, like I said before, in order to eliminate racism in our society, we first have to take a look at ourselves, because we all have biases in our mind that maybe we're not aware of, or maybe we are aware of them. And in order to work towards accepting everyone, we need to get rid of these, and we need to understand that there's a system in place that is basically set up for people of color to fail, and where people of color have to work 3 times harder just to be just as successful as a white person. So we need to understand that, and we need to create a system that is actually for freedom and liberty and justice for all. Because yes, we say those things now, but as we're seeing in the news, a lot of those things aren't being enforced and accepted by everyone. So we need to have a system in place where people don't have to worry about, being rejected from a job or a role because of their race, or playing a harmful stereotype. And I think that another way, going back to acting, which is really important to me, I think that it's important for people of color to be properly represented in the media, because it's a good way to show that, yes, maybe we're all different races, but, a Black girl can play a princess, or a Black boy can be a lawyer, or whatever it is. And, when you see things on TV, if someone is playing a stereotype, whether you're aware of it or not, you're going to start to associate the person that group is from with the stereotype. So it's important for people to be, properly represented, and so that they can see that everyone has a place in this world and they can be whoever they want to be. Like, I want to see more stories about, Black vampires and Black lawyers and Black detectives, more horror movies about Black people. It's important to make these things and not just about them being Black, because, Black people, we're still people. We still have lives that aren't just about us being Black. And yes, being Black is a very important part of my identity and other Black people's identities, but there's also so much more to us than that. And it's important for that to be shown on the screen so that younger and even older generations can see that and be more accepting.
Well, that's amazing advice and on point. And I have to say, a few weeks ago, we did a town hall conversation on systemic racism, and one of the speakers on our panel was Twinkie Bird, who's a producer, a Black woman who's a producer. She's on the West Coast, and talked very similarly about this issue, about Black stories and how they're just not happening the way that they need to be happening, in film, in TV, in theater, in different places. And she really did a call out, which I thought, was amazing, but also I think it really speaks to, for, those of us who are white, to understand our privilege in this, that, she was really calling out, Black artists, to create the stories and use other mediums to do it, because maybe the big box offices weren't going to sign them, but that you use your own, make something on your own and just keep pushing it out there. But I think it's important for, those of us who are listening who are white and non-Black to be thinking about the privilege, I guess, attached to the fact that, we don't, this is not a something that we struggle and suffer with. We flick on the TV and we see people that look like us. My children, put movies on and can always identify with someone on it. And that it's so important that you're sharing, what you've had to experience, for us to really, as we're working to break down systemic racism, to realize that this is an area for focus. And really, I do appreciate you as a young person, coming and sharing your thoughts on this, because, I have, despite what I said earlier, in terms, I feel like a lot of adults are kind of passing the buck and thinking that the youth are going to save us. I really am very inspired, energized, and engaged by youth. By you, talking to you today too. You really are an amazing young woman and so articulate. And it's important for us to be listening, but not waiting for you to take care of everything. We should take care of it for you, so that by the time you get to be my age, you're already coasting and not having to deal with any of these experiences. So I do have one other question, an intergenerational question. When you're talking to your older family members, what is the experience like to have, these conversations, the history back and forth about their life experience with racism versus your life experience with racism, what's that like?
So when I speak to my older family members, they're usually very shocked. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys talk about the news so much. You guys talk about race so much. Your friends groups are so diverse." And they didn't really have that growing up, because when you were a younger person in like the 70s or the 80s, a lot of your friends were probably Black as well, because it wasn't as accepted for people to have diverse friend groups, and people weren't really having those discussions with people from different backgrounds. So the Black community became very, close knit, because it's the people you can relate to and people who you can talk to. So when I speak to them and I say, "Oh, I have white friends, I have Asian friends, I have whatever friends," they're like, "Wow, I didn't have that when I was growing up, and it wasn't as accepted." And when I tell them that we're having these discussions about, tearing down racism, they're like, "I wish that I had that when I was your age, because maybe I would have been able to grow up and see that there were a lot more options for me." Because it feels limited sometimes.
Oh, I'm sure. And I love that you're using your craft and your talent to, make a social justice impact, on these issues. So as we're closing out our time together, Ryan, I'm thinking about young people that are watching this that, maybe have a voice, but haven't really learned how to use it yet. Obviously, you're very articulate, and as I said, your fan base that's watching is so appropriately noting, you are amazing and you are poised, and you are profound, in what you're sharing. But for young people that are still finding, that have something to say but haven't figured out how to say it yet, haven't figured out their voice yet. What are some thoughts if you're speaking to them, what would you want to say to help them get there?
Okay, so as everyone knows, we live in the age of social media. Use that to your advantage. You don't have to make videos about, talking about racism or whatever it is. It could just be something as simple as, reposting a news article on your story or talking about protests or whatever it is. And maybe if you're not someone who's ready to be public yet, I would say at least work on educating yourself, maybe read some books or listen to some podcasts or watch some YouTube videos, whatever it is. Just do whatever you can to educate yourself and realize that you are lucky to have a voice, because people in older generations, not all of them were able to have a voice. So understand that you have that privilege and that you should use it.
That's great advice. Great advice. So, for an old lady like me asking the question, what's social media channels that your age group is really focused on these days?
Okay.
Where are you getting your message out? Because I'm guessing it might not be the same place that I'm hanging out, but I'm curious so that we know.
Well, Instagram is a really big place right now. People are reposting a lot of things on their stories and even on their page. Also, TikTok is very big right now. I'm starting to see a lot of news things on there, and it was more just funny videos before, but now people are starting to use it for activism, which is huge because, TikTok has millions of people on it, and it's a
Yeah.
good place to, get the word out.
Well, that's great. It's great for for those of us of different ages to know that as well, because there's nothing more important than to stay connected to the youth and stay connected to voices like yours. So if people want to follow you on social media, are you connected to your account for fundamentals? For your program, or fundamentals of investing, or are you connected elsewhere?
Well, the Instagram for fundamentals of investing is fundamentals underscore investing underscore. And if you want to follow my personal Instagram where I repost like news articles or whatever, it's just Ryan Farley spelled right there with an extra Y on the end.
Got it. Okay. And we're going to make sure that everyone has the link to the fundamentals of investing. As I said, I am so impressed and so grateful, as we both know, the link for us to meet and connect and you to be part of this event today is through one of our YWCA Northern New Jersey board members, Jemmy Lucy, who's our board secretary, who has a connection with, one of your connections, and was so impressed with the work that you were doing in the community. And that's how she brought you to us. And I can see why she was, and so grateful. And I'm so excited to have you come talk to our young women in our program as well. For those of you watching, we are getting ready to launch our new year of Empower You, which is Empower University. It's a girls' leadership academy that's about evidence-based learnings and mentorship to help girls that are in 10th grade, which is a really key time in a young woman's life because she's getting ready to think about what her next step after high school will be. And we believe, as Ryan just shared, that you really can only imagine your future with what's in front of you and what's put in front of you that you can identify with. And we want to make sure that young women identify with lots of strong female role models that look like them and look different from them, also to just really understand diversity and opportunities in front of them. So we encourage any young women in any of our 5 counties, Bergen, Passaic, Hudson, Essex, and Morris counties. It is a virtual opportunity this year because of obviously everything going on. It's for 10 months. The girls meet with a facilitator 3 times a month, and we hope that you will put a link here if anybody wants to sign up. They kick off in September, and I'm I'm already talking to Ryan to get her it to be one of the mentors. She's clearly an inspiration, and we really want to help other young women find their voices the way that Ryan has, and help to continue to develop them. Because although I know that they're gonna, I'm gonna keep working because I'm not leaving. I want to leave things in better shape for you. But I know that you guys are gonna, be the next generation that's going to take us all, continue to evolve us forward in a very strong way. In addition to that, I encourage everyone to sign up. We're going to put a link here in the comments as well for our 21-day racial and social justice challenge. For 21 days, 21 business days straight, starting September 9th. Anyone who signs up, and it just really involves shooting us your email and some contact information, you will receive an email with either an article or a podcast or a documentary watch, just to help individuals, and it's an individual experience, an introspective experience. We're trying to educate and broaden people's information understanding on systemic racism, implicit bias, racial justice, social justice, and white allyship, and ways that we can all stand together. So we encourage anyone, wherever you are, there's no confines for this because it's all done virtually. Sign up for the 21-day challenge, and please join us to be part of that effort. We really are looking to make our mission a reality and eliminate racism. And we can all be part of that, and we all need to be part of that. Doesn't matter, what your race is. You need to be part of eliminating racism. We have to stand together to make that happen. And remember, Election Day is November 3rd. Please make sure, those of you that are of age, that you're registered to vote and that you are educating yourself on issues and candidates, so that you can make sure that you're putting people in office that represent your values and what you want to see happen. And we've got a few more weeks to fill out your census, so please do that as well, because resources come to your community based on that process. So with that, we hope that you join us tomorrow on YWTV. We'll have freeholder Tracy Zur talking a little bit about safe and fun activities that you can enjoy with your families. We've got a few fleeting days of summer before we get back to the school year, but there's lots of great activities that you can be doing with your family to enjoy them and still make a few more great memories in the summer of 2020, which was very different, but a few more great memories, before we get into the school year. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really so grateful to you, so impressed. Again, I can see why you've got this tremendous fan club on here cheering you on. You are a very incredible young woman, and I am going to be following you personally, as well as with our organization, to watch what you do. And we're here to support you as well, and amplify your voice in any way we can. And when your fundamentals of investing launches, we'll be posting some information here for everyone about that too. So be well. Have a great year. So are you excited to go back to school? Are you going back virtually? Are you going back in person? What's that like for you?
My school, you can either choose blended learning, which is when there's an A, B, and C day. So I don't know which day I am yet, but I'll basically be going in 5 times within the span of 3 weeks. And all the times I'm not there, I'll be doing it virtually. And most people are choosing to go back for at least a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah. So how is this time been for you?
It has been very interesting. For the first half of the pandemic, it was very anxiety inducing for me, honestly. It was really stressful, and it still is really stressful, but I was really just in my room, like, upset. And then the creators reached out to me about the podcast, and I was like, something to do. And I can help people as well. So it's been a time for me to learn a lot about myself and what I want to do and how I want to help people.
Well, we wish you a great school year. We wish everyone getting ready for the school year, whatever your learning is going to look like, whatever age you are, and also for the parents that are supporting it, because it's tough on everyone for sure. But talk about, making a positive out of it all, Ryan. You definitely did. So be well, stay strong, everyone. Stay healthy. Ryan,
thank you so much for having me.